Frank Furness, and welcome back to the YouTube channel. Here I am in the amazing San Diego with one of my best buds in the world. I think we've known each other about 12 years now, Alvin Law.
How you doing, Frank?
Alvin's an amazing guy. Alvin, our viewers out there want to know your story. Tell them your story.
Well, the simple version of a really long story is I was one of the world's first thalidomide babies in North America. In Canada specifically, I was born without arms because of the infamous morning sickness medication, and I was born without arms. I've been learning to use my feet ever since I was a baby, and you know what, I just kind of went from the beginning to where we are now, where my life has just been a constant development to where we are in 2014. My life's spectacular. I'm married, I got a family, I'm independent, I own a speaking company, I've traveled all over the world. I mean, life is so sweet.
Except for one thing, you play the drums better than me.
Yeah, see, the drums is a perfect example. People look at me playing the drums with my feet or whatever I do, the piano, and how do you do that? Well, that's what I talk about. Not how I did it, but how anybody can really, and I know this is pretty cliche, it is typical motivational speaker stuff, but my attitude says to me that I can, because I grew up in a home where my mom and dad said there's no such word as can't. So there's a cliche for you, but when you live it, it's not a cliche.
Now, Alvin, you play drums, you play piano, you play the trombone, you do all kinds of, I mean, we've sat getting drunk together, you pick off your shoes, we have food together, and I don't notice anything because we're buds.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've overcome every adversity, and yet there's people out there moaning and bitching all the time, and they've got everything, they've got a house, they've got a car, they've got everything, and yet they complain all the time. What would you say to those people?
Well, first of all, one of the greatest things that I lived was a life around people that complimented me, didn't put me down. I spent my time around people that made me feel better about myself rather than cutting me away. I was just so lucky in my life. Now, that doesn't mean this all went smoothly. I think that is the most important thing. I had a typical rough adolescence. I've had some bad goes, a bad marriage, you know, things, business, not always going well. But when you grow up without arms, you learn that failure is an elemental part of success. You can't succeed unless you fail. In fact, ironically, here's the good one, Frank. We're taking away a lot of the stumbling blocks our children need because we don't want them to feel pain. But if you don't feel pain, how can you feel joy? If you don't feel sadness, how do you know what it's like to smile? We need these comparables in our life, these, in fact, extremes once in a while. And it is cliche, but at the end of the day, let's not forget, I have no arms.
But what about your teacher, where you went to go and learn to play the piano, and that drove you to playing the piano and the instruments?
You know, it's a funny story because I hadn't played the trombone yet. The trombone's a whole other story. I found a piano in a basement of a friend's home. Mom and Dad were playing cards, you know, upstairs, and I was downstairs kind of playing around, doing nothing. And they had a piano, and I was fascinated by it, so I played chopsticks with my toes. Just a little stupid little song. And I was quite proud of myself. In fact, my mom was so surprised by my playing chopsticks, she took me to a piano teacher. And that's what we do, take our kids to piano lessons. But the lady, and I'll give her this, she was honest. She said, I think those toes might be a little short to play the piano. And I was 10, let's remember, so they were a lot shorter than they even are now. The thing is, while she was right, she was also wrong. It's almost like there can be two truths in the middle of the same thing. The best thing I ever did was, I quit for a long time, but then I eventually revisited it saying, you know, there's something in my head that's just not right about this. So one of my favorite lines about this is, that woman may have been right about me not playing the piano, but maybe I should have got a second opinion.
And then again, we look at you with your feet. I mean, we were having lunch now. There you are having a dessert.
Yeah.
And here we go. This is Alvin checking out his Facebook pages.
You know what it's doing?
Here
it's
we
not
go.
Actually on because it's not linked. That's what's wrong. Because it's not online.
So there's Alvin. This is the way he does all his stuff.
Or because it's full because I did a bunch of videos. So that could be what's going on too. I filmed several things today. It affects the memory.
And there's his beautiful young wife, Darlene. There you go.
Hi, how you doing?
There's Alvin. Oh, have a piece of cake. Okay.
Very sweet. just like my wife, Darlene.
Okay, and then I said, how do you exercise?
I don't. But I'm not going to have an excuse of that. What do you think about it? Every time I do one of these,
stomach exercise all the time.
I'm doing a sit-up. I'm doing a stretch.
That's more than I do.
This bag weighs 23 pounds.
Tell me how you get it onto you. 23 pounds.
So that alone,
that's amazing.
Carrying it around, I thought, you know, it's just a platform to be fit.
Wow.
Don't know why.
And that's just how my buddy Alvin works. What would your message be if you had to say 3 things to youngsters and 3 things to business people? What would those messages be?
Well, first of all, attitude is not something that we learn, it's a habit that we have to gain. Every single day a habit. Secondly, we have to live in a state of gratitude, and I really mean that. When you have no arms, you learn to appreciate the little things that you can learn to do. Don't look at the things you don't have, look at the things that you do. And finally, this is the most important thing, surround yourself with positive, energized, happening people. I know that sounds like it's hard to do, but it can be possible. I've done it. I have friends that befriend me. Frank, perfect example. Frank could be friends with anybody, chooses to be friends with a guy without arms. Why? Because of sympathy? Absolutely not. Because he understands that I live life, that I'm full of energy, and that I don't waste my time complaining. Because there's lots to complain about. There's also lots to celebrate.
Now, Alvin, you came and spoke at our conference, must have been 7, 8 years ago. You blew the audience away. If somebody wants to book you for their conference, where do they go?
It's simple. Just look up alvinlaw.com. You can reach us there. My wife runs our offices, and we'd be happy to talk to you about it. alvinlaw.com. And thanks for listening, because you know what? There's only one life. What you do with it is everything.
Alvin, thanks, my buddy.
Thanks, bro. Love you.
Love
you guys. Have a good one.
At the end of the day, it is about life. And I think one of the secrets to life is you just take it one step at a time, and you never, ever know where